Birdy. So today we're going to be talking to Birdy. He was a student at Shoreline and currently he's at UW. So I'll give you your space to introduce yourself a little bit about you, when you went to Shoreline, when you graduated from Shoreline, and when you're planning to graduate from UW.
Hi everyone, my name is Birdy. I went to Shoreline in fall 2019, graduated with an associate's degree in business administration in spring 2021. I then transferred to UW into the Foster School of Business there. And now I'm double majoring in finance and information systems, and I will be approaching my last quarter, graduating spring 2023. To address the reason why I went to the US in the beginning, it's mostly from my background. I went to an international school that worked in an American system. I basically learned under American teachers, and I kind of been very westernized growing up. So the choice to go to the US was pretty obvious. It was just a matter of what school. And Shoreline was just happened to be there under the circumstances that I was in. That tuition for my high school at the time was just a bit too cumbersome for my family. So we were looking for a unique program that could accommodate for my situation. And so when we stumbled across Shoreline, or really for the 2+2 program that Shoreline is a part of, that was the perfect opportunity for me to kind of just skip high school altogether and save my family some time and money, while still pursuing my educational interests quicker. So it was just a win-win situation. Shoreline seemed pretty safe, and that was mostly the biggest reason behind why we chose this school. It's located in a nice location, and the facilities are pretty darn good. No other deeper reason why I chose Shoreline other than any other schools. It's also pretty nicely located to Seattle, being like only a couple miles north. So there's that as well. But
no, yeah, that makes sense because, some students when they look at Shoreline or the pictures, they like that there are so many trees, and that could be a valid reason as well. I think it contributes a lot to how you learn. So I think that's totally a valid reason.
But being in Shoreline, or like the community college space in general, at least with Shoreline, my experience there, I feel like some of the professors actually do care about their students. And of course, there's the factor of smaller class sizes, making Shoreline like a good opportunity to get into college, getting attention you need from professors. But I actually feel like professors at Shoreline do care about what they're lecturing about. I've had, not just Mr. Thompson, but this physics professor, I think my statistics professor as well, my calculus professor, they were all so much more involved with what they're lecturing and their students' needs and stuff like that. So something you find out in retrospect after attending classes or while you're attending classes, but that's also a great reason why you choose community college as a starting point. And then, that also applies even more so when you're learning more with honors college.
Yeah, totally. So I met you before you went to Shoreline as well, and you've always told me that, I will definitely be studying business and I want to do business. And I understand Shoreline is known for that. So I know that's a part of the reason why you chose Shoreline as well. But I just want to know, how did you come about knowing that you wanted to study business even before you started at Shoreline?
Yeah, a lot of this started, and I think I really reflected on that question when I was doing the application to UW. Because that was the big next step. Short, brief answer is that it was basically, I've been inspired by my parents. They're both business people in different aspects. A lot of it was being inspired by my mom. My mother is quite an entrepreneur. Around the time that I was making such a big change in my life, she was making a big change in our entire family's life by opening up a new business, a new family business at that as well. And kind of seeing her go through that process made me realize that I wanted to learn more about business, and specifically how I could learn business to help small businesses, which is something I eventually ended up doing here at UW. So it kind of comes full circle in a way.
Business at Shoreline, has that, did you have a moment of I definitely want to do this, or rather the opposite? Was that something that happened as well, or no?
I'll tell you this much. I haven't had, how do I say this? The classes I took at Shoreline, the business classes, a bunch of it were just like accounting and business law classes that really I didn't have much real interest in. I started to actually really have fun with business classes after I got to UW, and I started to go into this like the specializations like finance and information systems, where things started to be interesting for me. So during Shoreline, when I was taking business classes, I was just mostly trudging along, trying to learn as much as I can, trying to perform as well as I can. It wasn't a love or hate. It was a neutral experience.
Yeah, you were doing mostly prerequisites, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of like parents struggle to understand how you could like transfer to a university, because I mean, we keep telling them that, you know, the classes that everyone's taking at Shoreline are foundation classes. There are classes that you as a business major need to take, and I as like a communications major need to take, and it could be the same exact class. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Follow-up question to that is that at Shoreline, you did an honors program. So not a lot of Thai students are familiar with the idea of honors program. So I just want you to briefly describe your experience, or maybe why you decided to apply into the honors program.
Yeah, briefly describing the honors program, in this case specific to Shoreline, it's kind of an exclusive program for high-performing students who kind of want to academically challenge themselves by taking classes that are a bit more in-depth, and as long as my experience go, gives them more out of the class. And that was like a lot of the experiences I had taking like some of the classes in the honors program. And as for why, it just felt like a good opportunity to apply myself, because I was doing pretty well in Shoreline as it is, and part of the prerequisite for that was having a high GPA, and being in an honors program is kind of that prestige and that kind of like involvement with the school that it's very hard to find otherwise. This was also during the height of COVID, where my involvement with the school felt very low. So joining the honors program was a good way to feel involved, as well as playing to kind of your strengths in academics as well, and your desire to learn more. And I honestly, one of the classes I took, multicultural studies, was an amazing class with an amazing professor, and I deeply enjoyed it. Even when it was online, I feel kind of remiss, if that's even using the word right. I feel kind of like I missed an opportunity by not being in the honors college in person, because I would have met all my other cohorts there. Rather than doing it online. But even then, it was still a great experience.
And I think for honors college, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but in order to get in, you just kind of have to apply, and then each quarter you pay a certain fee to keep your status in honors college. And then there's also, you know, like more intensive, let's say, activities that you need to be involved in, and then you do a capstone at the end, right? Is that the process you went through?
Yes, I do remember there was a membership fee per quarter, and then you have access to all the honors classes that are offered in the quarter, and then the capstone at the end.
Yeah, just, you know, for parents and students who are interested in honors program, would you say it's hard?
It's definitely challenging, and my experience, well, I say challenging, but it was also the classes that I took were very rewarding by nature. I think it really does take kind of that rigor to complete, especially the capstone. Although I believe the research capstone I took was optional, actually, because you can actually graduate within the honors program with different tiers. Like there's recognition honors program, like graduating honors with recognition or distinction, or I think just one more. Depends on how many honors classes you take, how many honor credits you have. So yes, most of the honors classes are great. I think if you have the confidence to be in the honors college and are willing to put in the hours to do assignments and attend lectures, then you'll do just fine. There's the optional capstone, research capstone that I did, which was the hardest class I've taken ever. But a lot of that too had to do with the fact that my experiences were very unique, being in COVID and having to do all these harder classes within my room through Zoom calls. Not the best experience. I feel like your experience would be so much more enriching if you'll be doing it in person. So any people who are interested in the honors program in the future, I think they'll have a much better time than I did, at least doing stuff in person and actually talking to other cohorts in person as well.
Yeah. I think that's a great description of it, and I think that people don't know much about the honors program because that's again not a system that's offered here. I think if the student is ready mentally get into that type of program, which obviously it's going to be a little more intensive than a normal program, but again, just like you said, it's pretty rewarding. So I remember you've known, like again, since the very beginning that you wanted to go to UW. So how did you come about building such a clear pathway or a clear goal that definitely I want to go to UW?
A lot of it wasn't actually for like purely academic reasons. I've been in New York for like a day, and that single-handedly made me decide that the East Coast was just not for me. So it narrows down to, there's the West Coast. And that's where me and my family really started to look. And a lot of it were obviously the UCs, which I did apply for. But UW, considering the pathway I've built for myself so far, with going to a Washington State College, Washington State Community College, transferring to UW was the most plausible choice. It was the most clear pathway. And this is also because, and now I actually work part-time in the advising office for like student admissions at UW, at least this one with the Foster School of Business. Yeah, UW does prefer Washington Community College transfers as kind of a priority. So the pathway is pretty clear. After being done Shoreline, not only is UW accepting or even giving priority to in-state transfers from the CCs around the area, it's also a great location. I really did enjoy Washington as a place to live, Washington State as a place to live, and the seasonalities. And the people here are just fits my vibe, simply put. So not too much of an academic reason. It was also a bonus that, UW also has this business school in it, which is, at least according to like several rankings, like very high up in the rankings as well. So yeah, obviously that also factored into my decision to go. But it was mostly just for the purposes of, can I enjoy myself being at this school? Can I see myself enjoying the weather, the people, the places, the accessibility? And Washington State was just something that like felt like I could stay in, a place I could stay in.
Yeah, you made a great point, and I think a lot of people don't realize this, but I mean, my personal reason was also that, UW was so close. And I think a lot of people don't realize that most colleges, especially bigger colleges that are comparatively to UW, are in like their own college town or a pretty remote place, which not something I was vibing with as well. I think it's a great point that you made also, that you didn't look at the ranking first. It was just something that you could benefit from this school that you already see yourself in. I think that's really important, because I was working at the advising office in Shoreline, not in UW, but with people who want to transfer, they're pretty focused on the ranking, and I think that's definitely not everything. It's good to look at, and it's tempting to look at that, but I think asking yourself like, oh, do I vibe with this? Is this something like I could actually live here or not? It's very important. So thanks for mentioning that. As a whole, like, what was the process? Maybe you can talk about it step by step. What did you do at Shoreline? Did the advising office help you with anything, or how was that like?
Oh yeah, it's really been a while since, I guess it's only been 2 years. I can speak more towards like, I can speak more since I work in the admissions office. Like, I can talk all about prerequisites, what UW cares about in terms of like, I can basically give anyone to lay down of what UW wants out of a transfer. But if I want to tie it back to the question about explaining my transfer process, it was just having high academic performance. And really that's what UW looks at, that UW wants to see good academic performance, which I had. And in the case of department-specific requirements, mine was a writing test. They were looking for high score there as well. So I cleared all those boxes by already. Perhaps the hardest part of the process was actually writing the essay, and that took me an frustratingly long time to get anywhere. I still have the folder with all the Google documents, and like I must have like 20 different drafts before I could find one that I was happy with. I think that might be, if you're not good at if you feel like you don't know yourself at the time, and definitely at the time when I was graduating from Shoreline and applying for colleges, I did feel like I was at a crossroads. I'm probably gonna experience that soon too after I graduate from UW. That this feeling of being at a crossroads and choosing, okay, like what do I do now and who am I? It's a really important question, and also an important question to capture in your essay. And that's why it took me so long, because the whole time I kept writing, it just felt like I wasn't being myself. Feels like I was playing myself up, or just like the concept was not good at all. And that took me all the way up until like the last 5 days before application deadline, and even past that. Actually, I'm pretty sure I sent in the application like 20 minutes before it was done. It was a done deal. So my personal tip with someone who wants to transfer, I know UW does look at high academic performance and mostly just that, but to really stand out, right, it's the personal essay that you're gonna need to spend some time doing. And with that, the answer I found was that I just had to be honest, purely honest with what I wanted to do. Explaining that my mom wanted to build a new small business, and I saw her struggle, and I just wish I knew more about business, and that's what got me in. So just reminding yourself that you have an authenticity in yourself that you want to capture in writing will help you build a good personal essay. And then, before a good personal essay, just get good grades. It's as straightforward as that.
Yeah, and don't worry, we all sent in our essays 20 minutes before. I don't want to it to the students who are watching, but it happens. It happens. Yeah. And I think, the application process for University of Washington or other universities in the US is a long, few months process where the application starts, you have to send in all your paperwork, you have to write your personal statement. It's not necessarily like Thailand where you have a certain day you go in to take a test and then you kind of just, get admitted based on that. It's definitely a different process. So I totally understand the 20 copies of drafts. And the more universities you apply to, the more personal statements you're going to have, because then they have different prompts. So, just giving a short rundown for those who are watching who might not be familiar with the process, but that's definitely something we all went through. Like academic excellence, are you also talking about those, let's say, work experience, work on campus, or activities that are related to your major or the things that you're interested in school, or is it limited to only the GPA?
Well, the GPA is a numerical kind of benchmark. So the experiences outside that's related to your major, that's obviously important, and that's where it goes in your personal statement, in writing, and kind of that. Imagine if you're writing to supplement a number that you represent, that's your GPA. What else do you have to offer? Your writing kind of coats it.
Right.
So yeah, your work experience goes in there.
You've already went over tips, so we're just going to talk about your current life at UW. You mentioned you obviously work in the academic admissions office. What else do you do at UW? Are there any clubs that you joined or any other work activities?
Yeah, so the biggest projects I've been doing for the past 2 quarters now is I'm with a club called Big Impact. It's a small business consulting club at the Foster School of Business, where in partnership with our consulting center at the school, this club pairs up with local small businesses in Washington State, and we embark on a 6-week what their problems is, and then we give recommendations for what to do. So I've been doing that for the past 6 months. Maybe looking towards being a project manager for this final quarter. So rather than being one of the consultants asking the clients and coming up with like the deliverable materials, I'll be leading a group, maybe. But yeah, I've been doing that for 6 months. Outside of being part of the academic advising office, I also participated in not a bunch, but I participated in a fair amount of case competitions going around in the business school. So case competitions are just kind of a way to apply yourself as a business student. Honestly, some cases accept all majors too. So it's not just a business major exclusive thing, but you're basically given a business problem and you're given a limited amount of time to solve it or give recommendations for it in kind of like a competitive setting. So I've won one. I won first place for one, third place for another, and I've been recently selected, although I'm still waiting back to hear from it. I've been recently selected to compete internationally in the Netherlands to representing the University of Washington in a case comp. But I'm still waiting on a visa for that. Being Thai is hard.
Well, congrats on that. I'm sure it's gonna be just fine. You have you have an excellent resume to go, so how could they deny you? I think you highlighted a really important difference between business school in Thailand and in the US as well, because business school here, a lot of people have the perception of like, oh, it's about managing like big business. We're only talking about, the chain management or, the bigger international business, let's say. But in the US, they give a lot of importance and care to small and local businesses. I think, your project is really cool for that. And I'm sure that gives plenty of tips for when you go off and manage your family business. So I hope the Netherlands competition goes pretty well for you.
Thank you. I've been waiting on a visa. Kind of nervous. Another thing is, to add on to that point, emphasizes other like business structures as specializations. It's that like there's such a breadth of experiences that you can carve out here at UW that if whatever specific interest you may have, there's probably a community for it. And I ever since the start too, I stated from my application letter or like my personal statement to the University of Washington that I wanted to help small businesses out. I come here and then eventually, I did find there is a community here that is literally directed or related to kind of that aspect of what I was interested in. So the real takeaway is that whatever niche interests you have, there's probably a community for it and experiences to like really rich experiences on top of that to kind of build that as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what are your next steps? I know you're going to the Netherlands, and then what's next? What else are you looking forward to?
Oh, finishing school for one.
Really looking forward to it, or is it just coming?
Well, it is coming. It is coming. I have to see how well I survive my last set of classes, but then I graduate and that'll be fun. There is the idea of applying for OPT extension here. So I am in the process of doing that right now. It's good to do it early, and the UW, I feel like, does not do a good job of advertising, or not advertising, but kind of telling international students when information about OPT. So this is, although the information is definitely there in the UW website, and that's a lot of it I've been going through there and just filling out the boxes. But apply to OPT early, like at least 3 months before you graduate. And I will be here until September this year. It's also when my lease ends and my apartment here to look for employment, hopefully, and see if there's anyone who's willing to sponsor on an international student like me. And then if all goes well, I can get to stay here for 1 year. And then if I'm super lucky, because my information systems degree is a STEM major, I get the STEM OPT extension, which goes an extra 3 years on top.
That's great. Is there like a specific kind of job you're looking for, industry?
Yeah. So I basically finished my finance degree this quarter. So definitely an analyst position is great. A lot about what I've been doing so far though, and I think like what I was been dead set on from the start. As we're nearing closer and as I know more about kind of like the industries and their acceptance of international workers, I wanted to do consulting as that specific industry that I wanted to do. Honestly, if I had it my way, an IT consultant would be my dream position to go to. But then, you know, anything related with kind of an analyst position, whether it's finance or a data analyst position, I'm also looking for that as well.
Oh, perfect. I think we're just going to conclude the interview here. If you have anything you'd like to comment, you can go ahead and give, a final word here. If you'd like.
To maybe the students or the parents watching this and are still hesitant about the US, maybe because of political reasons or it's just like the kind of like that danger surrounding it. I think that a lot of that perception is not exactly what reality is, and that if your child is confident enough to pursue kind of this education, then don't worry about the danger of the US, because that's been highly overblown. You're gonna find that a lot of people here are very nice. Transportation is super good here too. So there's lots to see, lots to do, and it's not as dangerous as you think. So the US is definitely an okay place to study.
Well, thanks, Birdy, for giving us the tips and your answers today. For those who are watching as well, we have articles of other student experiences in different fields and from different walks of life. So you can definitely check out our website for that. But thanks for today.
Thank you so much.